Hi, and welcome to the third episode of the Examined Life. Okay, in this episode, I'm going to examine one of the symptoms of narcissism that was listed from the previous video, but I'm going to refer to this as a red flag. So you've seen videos out there called the red flags of the narcissist type of thing, or these are red flags that this person could potentially be a narcissist. Well, even though this is technically a definition or a symptom of narcissism, it manifests itself in different ways. So I was going to tell you a story, right? So this particular symptom is the sense of entitlement and excessive admiration. Now, the excessive admiration from the clinical standpoint is also could be considered the love bombing, which is part of the narcissistic relationship cycle. The sense of entitlement. Okay, so this is the story. This is actually something that happened recently, and I thought it was kind of funny. And how there's all of the aspects of a narcissistic family and how they attract other types of people who are empathic and borderline, and maybe even a little bit of their own narcissism, maybe because their own parents were narcissists. But they can dupe people into being what they call flying monkeys for them, which I will go into on another video. The sense of entitlement. Okay, so this is the story. I knew this one woman who was a therapist. She was my therapist many years ago, and I ran into her as part of a dance troupe. So I was trying to get into dance as a way of, being more active and losing some weight a little bit, And a friend of mine who was part of her mom's, the mothers of the therapists had her own dance troupe. So I didn't know that at the time, but I ran into her. And when she came, I had a perception of her. And by the way, this is when I became aware that she was a narcissist. I didn't really officially know that she was a narcissist. I mean, I kind of saw some weird behavior back in those days. And we're talking about over 10 years ago, almost 20 years ago when I knew her. And I was left with this big question mark about why does she behave the way she does, But anyway, and this is why I say I really do believe that people who go into the psychiatric field have some serious issues of their own that they're not willing to look at. But anyways, to go forward into the story. So we're at the house and I'm practicing the dance moves. But I'm watching her because she didn't realize that I was there for a while, and then all of a sudden we meet up and we're talking, and the first thing when she comes out, there's this man in the troupe, and he does the music for the troupe, and she's standing next to me. She realizes it's me. She acknowledges it's me, and then the next thing she does is she love bombs this guy, and his wife is standing right next to him. And she says, we so really appreciate the music that you bring to this troupe, something to that effect. And it's just she's being overly friendly. And so and then later on she comes back out after she goes away. In a little while she comes back out, and then she sits down and talks with him and gets all chummy, and I can see her. I didn't hear the whole conversation with what she was telling him, but she was talking to him about something, and I saw her in the distance come out and talk to him specifically about something. She doesn't talk to the wife now, this guy's wife. She only talks to him. And it's almost like this over flirtatiousness about her that she always seemed to have. And it was one of those things, and even then, after 20 years ago, even though, or a decade ago, when I knew her better, I guess you could say, she always had this thing about her where you could never kind of pin her down in terms of where she stood. Anyways, she came across, she was definitely very homophobic back then, and she still is, obviously. And again, that's a kind of a projection from her. But it's like this thing where she needs to be overly flirtatious with men, whether they have a wife or they're not. But when I was just watching her, and she comes out, she's overly friendly with this woman's husband right there in front of her. Okay. And so after the whole thing is over, I was trying to figure out, was she laid into me pretty badly in terms of yelling at me for existing. And well, I was taking a ride home from her, and the mother says, not the mother, but my friend, who's there was a separation at some point. The husband leaves. I take a ride home with the wife, she's been hitting on him, and then she flat out says to me, every time she sees my husband, she's overly friendly. She admits that. Okay, now, and when I watched her do it, I mean, she's definitely overly friendly, but it's like a total shameless hit on this woman's husband right in front of his wife, right? In the sense of entitlement, that, hey, let me hit on your husband because I think he's a musician. I'm interested in musicians, and hey, like, I'm next in line. If he ever ditches you, honey, I'm the next one in line. Kind of a thing. And the wife, it does, she doesn't like it. And I could tell from her tone that she doesn't like it. She's always being overly friendly with my husband. She says, yeah, she's hitting on your husband, lady. Now, this is the big thing. The reason I would be pretty pissed off if that was happening to me. But she doesn't want to offend the mother of this woman, right? The one who's hitting on her husband. She doesn't want to offend her because she's under her spell, for lack of a better way to put it. Because the mother is also a narcissist. But she's this woman is my friend. She's like, she sees her as this grandmother that she never had, which is probably what she really was, because from narcissism is often handed down through generation to generation. So it's possible, and she sees some kind of characteristic within the mother, who is a narcissist, by the way, an overt/covert narcissist, and she sees it in her, and then she's drawn to her, and it's almost like this really little kind of a cult atmosphere amongst them as part of this dance troupe. And she's not going to try and she won't tell the daughter, my former therapist, she won't tell the daughter to back off because she's afraid she might insult the mother. So she puts up with this, but she doesn't like it. Okay, that's another dynamic of the narcissistic mindset, and how what's the word? The dysfunctionality of all of it, of the dysfunctional family, of how she can get this person, the friend, to get on board with a woman who is hitting on her husband, and her not saying anything about it because she's afraid to offend the mother, who is a narcissist also. Okay? So she taught her daughter, basically the mother taught her daughter about the sense of entitlement, right? She has this sense of entitlement that, hey, I'm going to help myself to your husband. So what she does is she goes up to him, she gives him excessive admiration, because that's really what she wants in return, or gives him love bombing, which is the beginning phases of what a narcissistic relationship is, really, with a narcissist. And it's almost like she's waiting for my friend to leave the picture. She totally disregards her in front of her, and my friend who she puts up with it. She says nothing, and she puts up with it, and she just, and that's really sad. I mean, it's really, really sad. So, one of the tactics was a smear campaign, and believe it or not, this woman who used to be my therapist, she actually did a smear campaign on me, which again talks about what lack of ethics is there. But hey. So that was an example. That's just an example of a sense of entitlement, where they think they can cut in line in front of you. They can just disregard you, blow you off. Hey, I'm entitled to approach your husband and hit on him right in front of you, and that was pretty shameless. I was floored when I saw that. I had no idea that she was that much of a skank, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I mean, she always came across as this needy woman in terms of, she knows how to play it. And by the way, a lot of narcissistic women know how to play it. And the majority of the narcissists that are in my life and have been in my life were women. Okay, my father is really the only male narcissist that I have. Well, is it? I think for in terms of domination, he dominated the role of the male narcissist in my life, which was my father. But my mom is a bit of a narcissist too, not as much as my father, but I have to say that there's a statistic out there that says that there are more male narcissists than female narcissists. Okay, I don't buy that for the most part, because the majority of all the narcissists that I've met in my life have actually been female. And it's partly maybe because I deal with women. I tend to deal with women more than I deal with men. But yeah, it's not something where it's just men being narcissistic. Women definitely can be narcissistic too. And if I would probably say that it's closer to almost 50% that that women are just as narcissistic as men are. So if there are men out there who are looking at what narcissism is, I would say subscribe, because my channel is probably going to be a lot different than maybe a lot of other ones, particularly if when you have these straight women who are talking about their relationships with men who are narcissistic. Okay, and the opposite side of the coin is, from my perspective, in that I've met so many straight women who are just narcissistic. Okay, and there are lesbian narcissists too. I've met some of those too. And I'm just gonna say, please subscribe to my channel, and I will continue on with another episode about another symptom, and I'll give you an interesting example of how it can manifest and how it can appear in a relationship. So this has been a red flag. I'll say this is red flag number 1. The sense of entitlement and excessive admiration. Please subscribe.